Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. It's your host, Donald Wands, and the Katface Killa, better known as...
The Katface Killa.
Real name?
The old boy.
That's goddamn right!
Yeah!
Guys, man, you want to talk about overdue. This particular title we're going to talk about is the most overdue title we ever was meant to record, because we planned to do this even before we started our podcast in 2011, the podcast you guys don't even know existed, and for some reason we never got to do it.
Oh, I know why we didn't do it.
Why?
Hey, One Life, where you at?
Was it your boy One Life's fault? Was it really his fault?
We were supposed to do it with him. I watched it with him.
Oh man, guys, you'll never know the majesticness which is One Life, which is one of the old founding members of Planet Tyro, who's in the ether. I think one day we might see him again, so you guys look forward to it, and you guys will love him, trust me. He's actually got another YouTube channel where he does some other stuff, so...
He does like gaming stuff. I mean, very knowledgeable about anime, but the guy is super hot, cold personality when it comes to stuff. He'll be very passionate about something for a short time and then falls off.
Anyway, you don't want to hear about our woes. What you want to hear about is the title we're going to be talking about, which is Blue Gender.
Blue Gender.
Blue Gender is a sci-fi action drama series that was released in the early 2000s. I don't have the year to hand, I'm sorry to say. And again, I'll spoil things by saying it was actually one of my favorite early 2000s anime. Ironically, I loved it so much we never spoke about it till now. But
yeah.
The funny thing is, I thought you would. I think I wanted you to do it with me anyway, even though we couldn't get One Life to do it. But then you told me you never watched the ending. Then you just watched the ending, told me, oh yeah, I did. But the ending was so forgettable, apparently, that you just forgot. And then, hilarious.
Yeah, it's super forgettable. And then I was like, I was doing, I made that list of what I want to do, and you're like, you need to put Blue Gender on that. I was like, oh fuck, I forgot about that.
But people saying that doesn't mean that the anime is bad. Like I said, I actually really like this one. So, guys, in case you don't know what the premise of Blue Gender is, here it is. Blue Gender is set in the year 2031, not too far from now, where these giant bug creatures called the Blue have taken over the Earth, killing everything in its path. Our main protagonist is like an 18-year-old guy called Yuji. And basically, he had an incurable disease that he and a few other people, they came up with the idea that because they couldn't get rid of this incurable disease at the time, they were going to a cryogenic sleep, and in the future, maybe the human race will come up with some miracle cure in this utopia of technology. Unfortunately for him, he's abruptly waking up into the world of the killer bugs that I've just before mentioned. Now, our secondary protagonist is Marlene Angel, who is a female soldier who is essentially there to rescue these sleepers when they are about to be killed by the Blue, and she rescues the sleepers. And the situation on Earth at this point is the bugs are taking over most of the Earth. There's a few human settlers that are hiding, and most of the other human settlers have actually escaped to space. So Marlene the soldier comes to get the sleepers and take them to space. So that's her job. So when the anime starts, she comes to rescue Yuji out of his pods, and then there's a whole bug attack. And without going into too many spoilers, what initially happens is she gets marooned on Earth. She can't really get back to her spaceship, and her and Yuji are kind of stuck on Earth fighting the bugs, blah blah blah. There's more to it than that, but before we get into the meats of it, let's get into the other categories, because that's just the basic premise. So
yeah, I remember all that so far.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to talk about the animation. For the time, the animation was good. Now, go on. Well, you watched it. All right. What do you think of the animation at the time, or what you thought of it?
Even thinking back about the stuff I didn't rewatch, I remember about 50-50. It does that quality dip where it's like really good,
yeah,
really shit.
Yeah. By today's, I watched it recently, and by today's standards, it's kind of clunky. The character designs are kind of bulky-ish, and the action is okay. There's gore in it. Actually, it's quite violent. There's even some nudity in it as well. But overall, it's even by today's standards, it's passable, definitely. But it's kind of clunky and it's kind of meh. And even back then it was okay, but now it's kind of meh. But it's not. Yeah,
it's just like Ninja Scroll, back then pretty good. Now, not sure.
Pretty much, yeah. But obviously not the same art style. But yes, I would say that is a fair comparison. Next, which is a very, very, very funny subtopic, I want to talk about the sound, because I thought this was a very good English dub. But you...
Yeah.
Yeah, what? But you said the dub is
I think it was kind of shit. You know, I think some of them were okay, but then like Marlene, she kept saying Yuji like Yuji or Yeji. She didn't. Not good. Not good.
That's nitpicking. Just the way she says it. Is that it? I mean, I'm talking about the dialogue and the way they, you know.
I didn't watch it in English, other than like while I was watching it, One Life Once, while we like and switch it over to the dub and listen to how bad it was, and we switch it back to subbed.
Oh, okay. So you find it so unpleasant that you just had to watch it in sub anyway.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we tried a few times, but like, no, fuck this, and we switched it back to sub.
Fair enough. So yeah. Other than that, I think the opening, you might not remember the opening, it's actually good. It's cool, nice. The music in general is good. I had to rewatch it recently to check it out. So overall, yeah, the sound, the animation is good. Getting back to the story and the meat of the story. Now, what I want to say is the first half of this show, where I'd explained the initial premise of Marlene and Yuji trying to get to the space station away from the bugs and all this, that's pretty exciting. I have to say, that is pretty exciting. There's some good character stuff there. Yuji, they act very humanist as well. Yuji acts like a scared bitch at first, even pisses his pants in the first episode actually when he sees the bugs. Marlene's a very cold soldier, and when you get into the world and see what's going on, and they even do some flashbacks so you understand the society of the situation, is actually very well fleshed out, and actually it's very realistic in my opinion. And there's even a sexual undertone, which when you look at the situation, it actually makes sense. That okay, I understand why the soldiers are doing certain things, sexual things, and this, that, and the other. And
I don't think it's really that much of a spoiler. It's when they use sex to relieve stress, and it's very disconnected from any emotional attachment.
Yeah. You don't see that a lot in anime, to be honest with you. And even though you might see fan service, this is actually used more for a drama and more a humanist element, especially in their society now. So I liked that element. I actually thought, hey, this is kind of realistic. I actually believe that if we were in the society in real life, this would happen. So that just made it a little bit more real for me. First half. Now, the third quarter, because now I have to get into the last 2 quarters. The third quarter, you find out the situation, like the big picture of what's going on when they get to space. Now, at that point, I kind of was like, okay, alright, is that your plan? And they have a plan to take back Earth. Not really a spoiler. And that point, I was like, it kind of dipped just a little bit. The last quarter, for me, it kind of fell off. And it wasn't bad, but the whole last bit, the main character, Yuji, goes on this certain transformation. And the last reveal, which is the big secret of the whole show, if you guys understand, I think it's, what's it called, Gaia Theory or something like that? Most people won't know what that is, but it's a spoiler if you know what Gaia Theory is, but not too much of a spoiler. But that being the hook of the show, it's interesting, but it's kind of like, is that it? Really? It felt kind of simplistic, but in retrospect, I think it's not a bad idea. So on a whole, Blue Gender to me, it's a solid show, but nearly the second half is weaker than the first. But I still enjoyed a lot of the elements, and at the time it was one of my favorites, and I still think it's a very good sci-fi show. But to summarize, the last half of me kind of tapers off a little bit.
Interesting. I remember it was more of a roller coaster for me. I mean, there were times where I was like bored, or I wasn't feeling it, and then there's other times where it was pretty interesting, or I was glued to my seat.
Yeah. And
it definitely kind of tapers off towards the end. But overall, I mean, sometimes the action was inconsistent. Like, Yuji would suddenly be like this ultimate killing machine, and then he would be like really erratic, and he'd be missing everything point blank range. It's like, maybe that has to do with, a lot of it is it wants to delve into that psychology. It's a very mental sort of story. But, I mean, how much of that is going to affect some things? It's not just him either. I mean, sometimes the other guys will be like, woo, super soldiers, and other times they'll suck.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, oh, fuck this, fuck you, and they'll be killing everything, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, and they'll get killed hell easy without even fighting back.
A lot of people compare this to Starship Troopers. I do think there's similarities with this and Starship Troopers, though.
I think so too.
Not just because they're killing bugs, by the way. I know that is a big similarity, but I think the whole space colony and the way they interact, I think a lot of similarities are between this and Starship Troopers, which is another slight. If you like that kind of thing, I think you'll like this as well. Just a slight recommendation there.
I think there's some, but it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, Starship Troopers is about imperialism. This was more about people kind of fuck themselves and put themselves in that situation, and they still can't learn from their own mistakes, and they're fucking up still. I mean, that's really just from the top down. The top guys are totally fucking everything up, and it's fucking the whole situation up.
I guess. I would give Blue Gen. It's the definition of a solid B for me. It's like a really good anime overall. It definitely needs a I think the story's good. If they reanimate it and make the action more dynamic, the story is good. I think if they just tweak the ending a little bit, because the Gaia Theory element is not a bad twist. It was a little bit unexpected, which is why it kind of was like, really, for me. But I think this is one of the shows I do want to see redone, because actually I do have one really big negative, which I can't slight on the series too much. There was a movie adaptation of this called Blue Gen the Warrior. It's an animated movie, by the way, not a live action movie.
Oh.
And it's just a sum up of the series, but it doesn't even follow all of the series. It kind of ends on the last third, so it doesn't even end. It's slightly different than the series anyway, but it's a fucking waste of time. I'm like, why did you bother make this? I know it was slightly popular at the time, and I do own the show. I do own the show as well, by the way, guys. But the movie's just fucking pointless. Don't even watch the movie.
Oh, well. I mean, I think I didn't like it as much as you. It's probably more like borderline high watchable, maybe a low solid B, depending on where your tastes fall. For me, yeah, I could see it being relaunched, but I think it needs a lot more tweaking than that. The end plot explanation actually kind of brought it up for me because it was interesting. But there's a lot of times where it's just I'm getting losing focus trying to watch it, and then they'll do something to bring me back up and bring me back in, and then I'll start tapering off. It was like a constant sort of up and down for me the whole ride.
Yeah. Alright, well there you go, people. Blue Gender. I know it's an anime classic, and I know we were kind of lukewarm on it, and I do feel like I was a little bit more negative on it than I actually feel, because I really actually do like the show. I own it, but when things with age, you look back on things, you're like, especially when I just rewatched, I was like, yeah, this one could have been a bit better. Maybe I'm saying that by today's standards, but anyway, let's not drag this on any longer than it needs to be, guys. You get the point. Check out Blue Gender. I'll say check it out anyway, and that's it. So, guys, let us know what you think of Blue Gender. Leave a comment in the comment section in the box down below, or you can jump on Twitter with the blue bird, and you can get to the Katface Killa with his Twitter address or Twitter link or whatever you call it, which is @_oldboy. Oh boy, and you can get me at Planet Tyro. And until the next one, I want to say thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button to get more content straight to your YouTube feed. And until then, peace.
Peace.
Out.